every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
For the health of it, Radio Cayman's premier health show is brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association, Holy Cross Hospital,
Cayman Fertility Center,
EatingClean.com, and People's Choice Groceries and Distributors, suppliers of the best Jamaican ground provisions and Cal's products.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For joining me, the host, and Dr. Gerard Christian, as we discuss COVID-19 after a word from our sponsors.
The Cayman Islands Civil Service Association commends the Cayman Islands government and the various teams who are pulling together for the good of our people as we prepare to deal with COVID in Cayman. We encourage everyone to please follow official instructions only and do not pay attention to fake news. If there's something you're not sure about, call the relevant agency, civil service or private sector. While we are all doing our parts in helping to keep Cayman functioning, the Civil Service Association encourages our members and the community to stay vigilant in protecting yourself and your families. Sometimes, as hard as it will be, the right part to play is to self-isolate and to not risk spreading COVID around. Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and spend time with your family. This is now truer than ever. Take care of yourselves, stay resilient, and help protect the welfare of all of our citizens. On behalf of the Management Council of the Civil Service Association, stay strong together.
Once upon a time, we ate from the land and sea. We may not have had much growing up, but we had healthy foods. It's time to wake back up to natural eating. EatingClean.com is the island's premier 100% born Caymanian-owned cooked-to-order meal prepping service. Fresh, locally and responsibly sourced ingredients. No processed soy and GMO foods. From breakfast to lunches, meat to vegan, juices and smoothies. Experience tasty meals for as low as $9. Visit EatingClean.com to view their menu or place your order. Deliveries are free, including reusable plates and bags. Monthly and corporate specials are available. Visit eatingclean.com. That's clean with a K. EatingKlean.com or call 328-8655. Wake back up to quality foods with eatingclean.com.
Refilling and transferring your prescriptions have never been this easy. Simply go to healthcarepharmacy.ky and follow the easy directions from your desktop, mobile device, or tablet. All you need to do is pop into Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor to collect your prescription. They're open 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 10 till 6 on Sundays and public holidays. No waiting in line, no wasting your lunch hour, no stress. Just easy online prescription refills and transfers from the pharmacy that has been caring about your health for 25 years. Call 947-8900 to speak to a pharmacist or go to healthcarepharmacy.ky and make life easy.
People's Choice Groceries and Distributors is a proud supplier of Cal's product line from Jamaica. Quality syrups, vinegar, ketchup, and lime juice. Quality products and generous on the pocketbook. Find your Cal's line of products at Hurley's, Foster's, and People's Choice Groceries in Georgetown or call 947-2257.
People's Choice Groceries and Distributors is also a supplier of Ripple Splash, In Season, Fresh Box Drink Juices, and Catherine's Peak Water.
We believe that every life matters, and we are all connected. One community, one people.
No matter where you live, Holy Cross Hospital of South Florida is breaking down the borders that should not exist in advanced healthcare.
At Holy Cross Hospital, we have opened our doors to the world, bringing you exceptional healthcare.
The multicultural staff features doctors and nurses providing top quality, compassionate healthcare while making patients feel at home.
Our Holy Cross International Services team provides guidance to patients and their families throughout their travel, accommodations, and recovery.
Quality medical care and advanced technology with sincere compassion and understanding. Your trusted health partner for life.
Learn more about Holy Cross Hospital. Email international@holy-cross.com or call 954-351-5906.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Hello, welcome back to For the Health of It. Dr. Gerard, thank you for being on For the Health of It tonight.
Okay, hello, good evening to everyone. Hope all is hearing. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I hear you good and well, so that means the rest of us are hearing you. And
All right.
to be frank, with the break, let us give some context to the audience. You are in your home, and I'm in my home, and JJ is in the studio with Dean, and they're making all this magic happen for us.
All right, well, much thanks to them indeed. This is true social isolation or true social distancing.
It is. So today what we know is we have 8 cases of COVID-19. Apparently, I could be wrong, no local transmission, so to speak.
None confirmed. There's a pending preliminary one that I believe has to be confirmed by CARFO first. And if that is the case, then it would likely be deemed a local case because there was no travel history in the individual. That's my understanding of it.
Okay. So we're now in some really super drastic measures of I think I've estimated it, of a 50-hour lockdown, can't come out of your yard kind of thing. I know this wasn't in our questions, but what do you think about this? Is this something that we need to take, and why?
So I can fully understand the scientific or the rationale why. So the whole hope is that if the coronavirus or this coronavirus that causes COVID-19, if it takes approximately 5 to 7 days before symptoms start to appear, they say it ranges from 2 to 14 days, but most people 5 to 7 days. If the island is on a true lockdown in terms of no one coming in or coming out, you can, at the end of, say, 14 days, get a true idea, even without testing, as to, how widespread it really is here in Cayman. I suspect after that period of time, then things may get a bit more relaxed, because we would know definitely how many cases there are locally, or we have a better idea as to the true local picture.
Okay.
Right now we probably don't. So because we don't, it's better to err on the side of caution.
Right. And one of the reasons why we're taking this stance is so that the medical community doesn't become overwhelmed. Is that part of it? And I mean, he's trying to keep us all well and safe. But if the truly sick people, like in Italy, they were saying, well, we can't treat people over 70 anymore. And is that some of the reasoning behind this too?
So the whole idea would be, if you only have a few cases presenting at a time, then you can manage those few cases at a time. If you have a sudden rush, massive increase of cases, it's very difficult to manage 10, 20 cases just appearing. And we're talking about critical, severe cases. We're not talking about the mild ones. We're talking about the severe critical ones. So that's the whole concept, the whole idea.
Okay. Now, maybe I should ask you to tell us we know what the symptoms are. We've heard them over and over, but I think it bears repeating. Do you want to?
All right. So the first thing is people may not have any symptoms. You can acquire the virus just like many other viruses and not have any symptoms. These are known as asymptomatic individuals. And it's generally felt that an asymptomatic individual is less likely or very unlikely to be highly infectious. It would more be the symptomatic individuals who would be highly infectious. And generally, the symptoms would be fever. At least in 99% of the cases, a fever appears. fatigue, and a dry cough. So in 60% of the cases, you'll have a dry cough, 70% fatigue, 99% fever. So if anyone has a dry cough with a fever, the fever will be over 100, and you feel really fatigued and tired, then those would be the symptoms that one would present with. You don't get too many runny nose and sore throat. It's more going to be fever, fatigue, dry cough, may get a bit of shortness of breath in there. So those would be the symptoms, the four main symptoms: fever, fatigue, dry cough, and shortness of breath.
And if you have these things, the best thing you can do is call the flu hotline, right?
You call the flu hotline. Some of the questions that should be asked would be that. And then it would be asked if there's a travel history, because it's still not 14 days since everything has been locked down. And then what should also be asked is, has the person been in contact with a confirmed case or someone who is a suspected case? And by contact, you don't mean you pass them in the hallway. It would mean things like having a face-to-face encounter with that person for up to 15 minutes or more, a direct physical contact, or in the case of our healthcare workers, if they were actually managing the patient and did not have proper protective equipment while managing the patient.
So we talked a little bit earlier today about the virus to civil servants, and you were saying that this virus, it's one of the things about it is so contagious.
Right.
At the same time, it's not quite as deadly.
Right.
Explain.
Right. So, or not as fatal, at least not yet. So, when you speak about how fatal a virus is or any disease entity is, it's how many people who contract that virus will die, and it's generally felt currently that the COVID-19 virus, which is the SARS-CoV-2 virus, that's the name of the virus, is likely more infectious than influenza, which is our flu virus, but not as fatal as it. I know it's a bit difficult to accept that as it stands, because everything you're seeing on the TV is, the death rate or the numbers of deaths increasing. But the reality is that many more people die from flu, from influenza, and have died in this last flu season from influenza than currently the COVID-19 or the coronavirus.
A follow-up question is, some of the cases are mild and some of them are like really, really bad.
Right.
So is there at some stage that you say it is time to call the hotline, or is it you just call the hotline no matter what if you have a fever or whatever?
So I will go in straight off of the symptoms. If you have a fever and you're feeling really bad, call the hotline. Call the flu hotline. Doubly so, if you have a fever, feel really bad, really fatigued, and a dry cough, you call the hotline. Or if you have a fever and a dry cough without fatigue, you still call the hotline.
Now, let us give the hotlines numbers out. I think most people should have them, but just in case, it's 1-800-534-8600 or 947-3077. Now, the thing about this virus is, as you said earlier, is people are asymptomatic and spreading this little fantastic virus. That's why we're now in a pandemic state.
Right. So, but what I would say is we mustn't take away that, everyone who is asymptomatic is spreading it. Majority of the spread is going to be from individuals who would have some symptoms. It may be mild symptoms, but there would be symptoms. The majority of the spread.
Oh, okay. See, some of it we've been hearing is that people are carriers and don't even know it, and it sounds like it's a vast majority of that.
Yeah, the truth is we honestly don't know how many carriers there are, because in order to make that statement, you'd have to be testing the entire population. And then from the entire population, you say, okay, well, 5% of people in the entire population, they never had any symptoms, but they tested positive for the virus. So, and if you do that, you'll probably find that there were 20% of people who did test positive for the virus who had symptoms. And so chances are that those 20% would have more likely, just from the mechanism of how the virus spreads, been responsible for the spread, rather than the 5% who are asymptomatic. So, yes, asymptomatic passage of the virus may be a thing. The full extent is unknown, but what we do know is that if you are symptomatic, there is a much greater chance of you being infectious and spreading it. And the reason for that is that the amount of virus that will be in the mucous membranes of your nose and of your throat is generally going to be higher. The amount of virus is higher in someone who is infectious and has symptoms than in someone who doesn't have symptoms.
That makes sense. You've been listening to Dr. Gerard Christian, and you're listening to Tara Bush on For the Health of It. We're talking about the coronavirus. And so we're halfway through the show, and people are saying it lives on metal surfaces for at least 12 hours. It's on your pets. It just sounds like if you go outside and the wind blows at you, you're going to get it.
Okay, so if you go outside and the wind blows, you're very unlikely to get it. In fact, you won't get it from what we know, because it's not what we call aerosolized. If it were aerosolized, it would mean that it could be floating in the air and hanging in the air for a period of time. It's not thought to do that at all. It's thought to be spread primarily by respiratory droplets, and that would mean that when a person who is primarily infected, when they cough, when they sneeze, when they talk, some of the virus is passed out in the respiratory droplets that come out when we cough, when we sneeze, when we talk, and whichever surface it makes contact with. And if it makes contact with someone's face, someone's eyes, someone's nose, then that would be the mode of transmission, the main mode of transmission. And we know that respiratory droplets typically don't travel more than 6 feet or 2 meters. And that's where the whole 6 feet distance apart or 2 meters distance apart comes in. Because if I have COVID-19 and I'm symptomatic and someone is, say, standing 9 feet from me, if I sneeze, if I cough, it's unlikely that it's going to be able to travel 9 feet to that person who is 9 feet away from me. But if they are 2 feet away from me and I'm having a conversation with them, just talking, maybe not coughing, sneezing, but having a nice conversation and laughing, it's very likely that those respiratory droplets, some of them will fall on the person who is 2 feet away from me. And so we believe that's the main route or mode of transmission. Now, what isn't fully clear is when I talk, remember I'm infected here, and I talk and I cough into my hands or I sneeze into my hand, and then I take out a $1 bill and I give it to you, right? We don't know how long those respiratory droplets that would have been on my hand, that's been passed to the $1 bill, and then you receive it. We don't know how long the virus will survive. We don't. And it's a $1 bill. It may be different for the door handle. It may be different for cardboard. I think a study last week showed that it tends to last longer, or seems to last longer in the lab on cardboard. But that transmission by what we call fomites, by other objects, is not as great a mode of transmission as coughing, sneezing, or talking within 6 feet of someone. So what we say to avoid or to cover both bases is, hold on, let me fix this. Yeah, would be to keep your distance, which would be 6 feet or 2 meters, and you wash hands, because you don't know which surface you've touched and whether maybe there are some respiratory droplets from a contaminated or infected person on that surface.
Okay. We're going to have to, speed this up because we only got, 8 minutes left.
Okay, no problem.
So, people are saying, it's affecting older men more profoundly than, say, women. Is this so? And
right.
Is there a plausible explanation?
Right. So, well, we can't say for certain that it infects men more than women. What we can say is that men definitely, and older men definitely, seem to have worse outcomes. So we can make that statement. But it could be that men and women are equally affected. It's just that if men have, especially older men, have symptoms, they're more likely to present to a healthcare center and get tested. But what we do know is that, yes, it is the outcome is not as good in men and in individuals over the age of 80 for certain. But even from the 70 to 79 age group, the fatality rate is greater in that age group, particularly if there is some other medical illness at play, whether it be COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, maybe pulmonary fibrosis, asthma. So if you're ill person with other chronic illnesses and you are over the age of 70, then you are definitely more likely to have a poorer outcome if you contract it, which is why the whole idea is to protect that population.
Right. What about what was the other myth? What about drinking hot water? Does that make it does that stop it from making you sick?
But no, that definitely would not. I mean, drinking lots of water is good for your immune system, but to say that drinking hot water, hot tea is going to kill the virus because the virus is killed or inactivated by high temperatures is not true. The temperature that you'd have to be drinking a liquid for to kill the virus, it will likely burn you. No, not likely, it will burn you. So it will burn you. The most important thing is to try and maintain that 6 feet spacing and washing hands, or if you don't have water, then using an alcohol-based sanitizer, at least 60% alcohol. And then if you're at home, you try and disinfect your surfaces.
What about, did we talk about the blood type? No, right?
No. Haven't spoken about the blood type, and I don't know anything about whether certain blood types are more susceptible to acquiring it or having a poorer outcome. I would be very surprised, though, if there was any evidence that comes out at the end of this that suggests certain blood types are more susceptible. I would be very surprised.
So, I think one of the big questions is how long, if you say you get COVID-19, how long does it stay with you, and what does it mean for people around you?
Right. So, if it's a case where you're severely ill and you're in hospital, it could be a very prolonged illness, because if the lungs are damaged more than 50%, I mean, you're not going to be coming out of that in a week's time or in 2 weeks' time. But for the majority of people, let us say, who are not severely ill and requiring ICU hospitalization, they just require isolation, whether the isolation is in a hospital facility not for these severe cases or at home, generally in about 14 days would be the length of time. Now, the WHO recommendation is that if you're tested positive for COVID-19, in order for you to be officially discharged, you have to get 2 tests done more than 24 hours apart, which come back negative. Or in the event that one cannot do that testing, they say you remain isolated for 2 weeks after resolution of symptoms. So if you've been tested positive, but you're mild, you're at home, you've been advised to self-isolate, and after about 10 days, you're feeling fine, no fever, no cough, you're feeling good, you should technically still remain isolated for 2 weeks after. That's if you are unable to get a test done to make sure that you are now negative. And it would have to be 2 tests.
Okay. And a vaccine soon coming?
I would be very surprised. But who knows? Science is moving at a very fast rate. But I would be surprised if a vaccine is right around the corner. I know they're doing a lot of work on it, but there's a reason that it takes a while to get a vaccine out, because it has to be safe. You know, you don't want to create another problem in trying to solve one.
Right. Well, I hear the music in the background. Sorry to cut you off. Thank you so much. We've been listening to Dr. Gerard Christian from HSA. We've been discussing COVID-19, and thank you all for listening to For the Health of It.
The Cayman Islands Civil Service Association commends the Cayman Islands government and the various teams who are pulling together for the good of our people as we prepare to deal with COVID in Cayman. We encourage everyone to please follow official instructions only and to do not pay attention to fake news. If there's something you're not sure about, call the relevant agency, civil service or private sector. While we are all doing our parts in helping to keep Cayman functioning, the Civil Service Association encourages our members and the community to stay vigilant in protecting yourself and your families. Sometimes, as hard as it will be, the right part to play is to self-isolate and to not risk